Now, going into your final arrow, this is it. This is, you know, when you get into the final, you get into about step 9 right now. Now you gotta deal with the balance and the level of your aerodynamics. Now, when your car is like on the steering in higher speed corners, like a big sweeping corner, like, you know, obviously greater than 80 miles an hour, you know, the car is constantly on the steering. It's like, God, stop on the steering. I need you, you know, stop being pulled into the wall of death. You want to increase your front, or you want to decrease your rear downforce. You know, obviously, if you're increasing your front, you know, gaining more, you know, cornering ability, and when you know decreasing your rear, you're increasing your speed ability. Now, if the car is oversteering in high-speed corners, you know, greater than 80 miles an hour, this is when you switch it up. You want to decrease your front, or you want to increase your rear downforce. Now, you know, once the car is like neutral and slight oversteering in the high-speed corner, just slight. You don't want too much oversteering. The slight oversteering in the corner, in the, you know, those high-speed corners, you're good. Now, moving on to like the levels. Now, the car is like, it's quick enough down the straight. This is, like I said, you know, you find like on Maple Valley, I think I was like hitting about close to, you know, 160, 61 from, you know, my high speed, you know, the longest straight or whatever I can gain the most speed. I mean, it's probably much faster than I can get higher than that. Probably like 165, maybe close to 170. Now, you want to be aware of that. So like, it's reaching that spot, and this is where, you know, you might need to go back to your gearings. But the car it's not quick enough down the straight. Like, you feel like you can get some more speed out of it. You want to decrease the front and the rear difference, but you gotta be aware you're gaining more speed, but at the same time you're gonna lose grip, you know, in those corners. So be aware of that when you decrease, when, you know, the car is not quick enough down the straights, and you decrease that's when you want to decrease the front and rear. But be aware that doing that, you're gonna lose grip in those corners. Now, if the car, you know, does not have enough grip, see, this is what I'm talking about. The car doesn't have enough grip in those corners. Obviously, that's when you want to increase the front and rear, because, you know, you gain all that speed down the corner, down the straight, but from, you know, decreasing your front and rear. But when it comes to that corner, your ass is SOL, because we got no grip, you know, in those high-speed corners. Obviously, greater than, you know, 80 miles an hour. I mean, if it's slower than that, I mean, you don't really need the grip. But in those high-speed, you know, corners, you do need that grip. So, you know, pretty much you got that good balance of, you know, high speed, but that, you know, that's adequate to, you know, your top speed that you can get on the longer straight of that track. But at the same time, you have that grip for, you know, those high-speed corners. You're good. You got that perfect balance. You're good. You know, you can move on to the next thing. Now, this is like the final ride height. Now, you may or may not have to adjust this. More than likely, you probably won't have to. But, you know, your final ride height, you know, check it out, test it. You know, the car bottoms out on the track, you know, causes you to lose control. You know, if that's happening, if the car is bottoming out because you've done all these other things, you know, to your car, you messed with your springs and all that stuff. So it's going to mess with, you know, your ride height. So if the car is bottoming out, you know, on the track and you're losing control, you want to raise your front and rear, just, you know, to prevent that from, you know, happening. Because you don't want that happening at all. Now, if the car does not bottom out and the suspension travel is not maxed out, that's when you can lower, you know, a little bit more, because you kind of want the car to bottom out a little bit, but not too much, because you don't want pretty much the lower the car, the better airflow, and, you know, less drag. But at the same time, you gotta worry about, you know, if the car's bottoming out, you know, you can lose speed that way. Also, you can lose traction. That could just, you know, end the race for you. So people like the car, you know, rarely bottoms out on the track, you know, or, you know, the suspension, you know, barely, you know, runs full travel or whatever. You're good. You're golden. You're there. There you go, kid. But now, I don't think we've really, we haven't talked much about the caster. I think we kind of left that, you know. We're at number 11, I think. Yeah, number 11. Yeah, number 11. I'm trying to remember all the ones I've done. Number 11, you know, we're at the caster. And the reason why I'm saying in this order, because I think it works best in this order. Obviously, you see what I'm talking about when if you guys, you know, print this out or download this, I'm about to have in the description. But the caster. Now, if the car becomes, you know, this, let's see. Pretty much in general, like long sweeping tracks, you know, they pretty much favor less caster, while, you know, more tight, you know, or street circuits favor higher caster. So, you know, keep that in mind when you mess with the caster, you know. Like, pretty much if the car is twitchy, you know, unstable, like trying to turn in, you want to increase your caster settings, you know. But like if the car is like very twitchy and unstable in like long sweeping corners, you want to decrease your caster settings. Pretty much like once the steering feels precise and the car is stable in sweeping corners, you're golden, you're set, your casters is set, you know, where it needs to be. You can move on. Now we're dealing with the final camber and final tire pressure in a sense. Now this is what I say, like we did the initial tire, we did the initial camber, and you know all the other stuff that we did after that, you know, it can mess up the camber and readjust, you know, the tire heating up, being dispersed. So going back, you know, it's like pretty much if the inside edge of the tire is cooler than the outside edge, you want to increase your negative camber, you know, move the slide to the left. If it's the inside edge of the tire is greater than 10 degrees, you know, hotter than the outside, you kind of want to increase some positive camber into that. But like once, you know, you got a good, you know, the inside edge is, you know, between 6 and 10 degrees of the outside edge, like hotter. Like the inside edge is 6 or 10 degrees, between 6 and 10 degrees hotter than the outside edge. You're golden. Golden is the word of the day, folks. I mean, you're good. You're good. You don't really need to mess with anything. I mean, you can go back and, you know, like I said, all these things you can go back and adjust and tweak, and you know, make sure it's you know, to your liking. Now the final tire pressure. Obviously, if the middle of the tread is hotter than the outside and inside, you want to decrease your tire pressure. Now, if the middle of the thread is, you know, or tread, sorry, said thread, is colder than the outside edge, or I'm sorry, the middle of the tread is, you know, colder than the inside edge, and the outside edge, you want to increase the tire pressure. Now, if the middle of the thread is, you know, in between, that's, you know, where it needs to be. Between the inside and outside, you know, the tire pressure is good. You know, you don't need to do anything. Now, we're going back to, you know, the brakes. It's like full circle. Going back to the brakes, you know, we're gonna do the same test that we did before. You know, testing out the brakes. You know, if the rear end, you know, the wheels are locking up before the fronts, you want to move the you know, the brake balance towards the front, you know, move to the left. Now if the front wheels are locking them before the rears or whatever, you want to move the brake balance, you know, towards the rear. Now once, you know, they lock up practically identical, you're good. Now going to your gears again. Now the engine, once you like, you're going down that long straight, you're keeping an eye on your engine, you're keeping an eye on your needle, and you're watching it. And I mean, some of these things are repetitive, but I mean, it'll get you to that tune that you've always wanted. But you know, you're going down that long straight that you're testing out, you know, your top speed on that track. If your engine, you know, hits the red line before it, you know, the end of the long straight of that track, then you want to lower your final drive, or you might want to mess with your 6-gear ratio, like slide it to the left a bit. Now if the engine is a few hundred RPMs, you know, below the red line on the long straight, you want to raise that final gear, or you want to, you know, mess with that 6th gear a bit and move it to the right.